let's talk about the bed arrangement in the Rangeline for a bit. This is one of the things that most people who have a Rangeline complain about. Not the bed itself or the layout sideways in the back. It's the actual bed hardware that Airstream chose to put in here. First of all, it's very awkward for a single person to actually deploy the bed and lay it down flat, because you have to do it from either one end or the other, and it's actually really heavy once you've got the mattress and the bed frame in place. And you can see here, it just doesn't look like it fits very well. It kind of hangs out into the garage area. It's kind of flopping loose. You can actually see the Velcro straps that hold it to the frame right here. If I leave these for a day or so, they're really stretching the bed fabric on the mattress, and it looks like it'd probably rip over time. It's just, generally speaking, poorly designed. But let me show you something here. I've got the bed stowed away in the cradle, which is also very difficult to do. Get it lifted up into the cradle and then put the Velcro strap around the cradle to hold it in place. Very, very awkward. But watch this. If I take the bed and I lift it up over the cradle and I push it back a little farther, it actually goes back a long way. And you can see it actually looks like it was meant to go here. The bed aligns nicely with the cabinet, and the edge here, it doesn't stick out into the garage at all. It feels much more open space-wise. So why didn't Airstream do it this way? This makes no sense to me. Some of the other vans that we looked at, like the Winnebago Solis, had a similar rear bed arrangement, but rather than this A-frame design, they just had a single piece running across here that would fold up and lock in place. Now, of course, that would block these cabinets, which would be a little unfortunate, but overall, I still think that is a better design. Let's take a look at the bed hardware underneath here. So here, from underneath, you can see here's the A-frame, the Velcro straps holding on the mattress, and you can see those two little cradles that were attached there to sit in with the Velcro straps. I don't see any reason why I couldn't just take and build a new cradle for this to sit into about 6 inches farther back. It would use the space much more efficiently. I can build the cradle so that it'll be much easier to slide into, and I'm going to completely get rid of those Velcro straps. Those things are just useless. What I'm thinking is I can just use a little pin bolt to slide into the cabinet over here and lock it in place more securely. What I've got to build the new cradle is I just got some simple aluminum bar stock. What I'm thinking is I'll bend one end up to be a backstop and then leave the other end open so the A-frame can just slide in and stop near the back. Then I got some felt furniture pads I can just stick on there, and that is what the A-frame will rest on. I marked and scored 1.5 inches, and now I'll just clamp it in the vise and bend it over to get the angle I want. Here's the first bracket, prototype. Bend isn't quite as sharp as I liked, but when I tried to bend it any sharper, it broke off. So, might do better by trying to heat the aluminum, but this is good enough for me. It's mostly going to be out of sight. And then the felt pad will mount on top of it right there. And I should be able to just put a couple bolts to bolt it down to the top of the cabinet. Drilled a couple holes in both of those. I'll plan to use just a few stove bolts with some lock washers to lock them in place down to the cabinet, and we should be good to go. So this is the bed frame, and you can see the brackets they put it into leave a ton of wasted space in the middle. I was initially storing the window shades here, but it's a pain to get them up and in there. And when you lift them out of the bracket, you can clearly see this actually goes a long way back. And there's plenty of room for the mattress to fit in here. So what I did is I took the aluminum angle bracket that I made by bending the aluminum stock, drilled a couple holes, which I'm going to use to bolt down, bought some of these felt pads and drilled matching holes in those, and cut another felt pad down so we have kind of a little felt like that. And my plan is to put these in place like this instead of these angle brackets. So it'll stop and not go too far back. Should have room for the bed in front. You do have to be a bit careful when you're putting it back that you don't bunk these overhead lights. They are very close in coverage to the hinge of the bed frame there. And to secure it all in place, what I did is I just got a little sliding bolt like you have on a gate. My plan is to mount that onto the aluminum frame right here and to run the sliding bolt into the cabinet, and that should lock it in place securely. So it should be fairly easy, much easier than these Velcro straps attaching. You just lift the bed up, it should slide right into place on these brackets, then run the bolt across and you'll be secure. A little closer view of the bracket and the bolt, the way I'm going to attach it. Should be possible to just drill a small hole, maybe with some reinforcing into the cabinet right there. And honestly, it sits very solidly on this bracket. The aluminum and the size of the felt is just enough that these hooks clear and won't scratch up the surface of the cabinet. My plan was to bolt these down to the cabinet, and on this side it's no problem because we have the cabinet below and we can just run the bolts through directly. As a matter of fact, these screws right here from this bracket come through the roof. On the other side, however, the little cubby hole doesn't go far enough to the side, so I may have to pull open the circuit breaker panel just to reach up in there and be able to tighten the bolts down. Brackets come out easily. So here's the final installed bracket. In order to screw this down, I actually had to pull the circuit breaker panel off, which is pretty easy. Just remove some screws. It comes right out. You can reach up in there and tighten down the bolts. So I got one bracket in place there, one bracket in place on the other side. You lift it up, slide it in place. You do have to be a little careful. It just barely clears these lights right at the top here. So don't lift it up too much as you're pushing it back. Just kind of lift it up the minimum amount and slide it in. And I drilled a hole right here for the bolt to go in. This bolt was a little too long for the frame, so I just bent it over like that so it'll fit on the edge of the frame. Then I can just screw it in and we should be good to go. There was a small problem with my plan. I had this nicely folded around the corner and bolted in tightly. Unfortunately, the way this bed frame works is it needs to be completely up adjacent to the other side. So yeah, you can't have anything in between here. So I had to go back and just cut the bottom off of here. And I'm going to just try and attach it with another screw right on the face, like that. There it is with the updated placement. Now it's not interfering in between the gadget. Screwed on to the frame there, and it's below the things here, so shouldn't even notice it under the mattress. Mattress is strapped back onto the frame. Let's fold it up and see how it works. Resting on the cabinet. Let's see if it goes back the way it's supposed to. It does, and it fits nice and snug in there. And reach under here. It's a little inconvenient. You can lock it in place just like that. That won't come out. Fits nice and snug, not hanging out in the hallway. Lines up beautifully up top. Nice and secure.